Okay, so we are moving on to the second session for today, and the second session is handled by Dr. K. Sasi Rekha, Assistant Professor of English, the American College, Madurai, Tamil Nadu, India. She has completed her PhD in ELT from the Madurai Kamaraj University, and she has an experience of nearly 20 years in the teaching line. Not only that, she has also published 10 journals and has attended and organized many seminars, workshops, and conferences in both national and international levels. And we are very happy to have you among us, ma'am. Handing over the session to you.
Good evening, all. Thanks for introducing me, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Yes. So, thanks to the organizer for giving me this opportunity to handle a session on mechanics of research writing and publishing. And like the previous resource person, I'm also going to share some of the ideas regarding how to go about research writing and how to get it publishing. That's these are my two components for today's session. Before checking into how to proceed with the research writing and publishing, let's have a kind of idea regarding what is a research writing and why research writing. See, I believe this the participants must be a doctorate, or you would have registered for your PhDs, and you might be in some one way or other way, you're all connected with the research forum, research scholars. Hence, you would have joined in this webinar. So let's understand why there is a need for research writing. See, research writing is actually a kind of, there are several writings and we do it for various purposes, and research writing has only one objective. It is highly integrated with our academic writing, and it is based on the series of investigations, experiments, and studies, which means it is very factual. It is very factual and scientific by nature. Please, we have to understand the entire framework of research writing. It must be based on the investigations, experiments, studies. Hence, it is going to be a factual information and scientific writing. And when we attempt an academic writing based on the series of investigations, experiments, and studies, the outcome is going to be our insights, or we are going to arrive at a new conclusion, or we will get a new idea, sometimes findings as well. So this is the very objective of going for a research writing. Being a research scholars, we are expected to conduct a series of investigations. If science based candidates, then you will be doing a series of experiments or studies. Then the outcome of our investigations, experiments, or studies is going to be a new insight and findings. Then let's see why we have to go for research writing. See, that is the only authentic documentation for research done by the researchers. So this is mandatory. Writing research articles, writing pieces, and writing papers for scholarly journals are all part of research writing. And this is the one and only authenticate info documentation for research. And research writing has a big connection with the research R&D also, research and development field. So whether I work in teaching field or in industry or in company or in business, it doesn't matter. Research writing is very compulsive for R&D field. And it is the richest referential resource for the future researchers also. So this is why we are carrying out with our research writing, and this is why research writing is important. And the following slide, what we are going to see is simply we are trying to understand the framework of research writing. Unless we understand the framework of research writing and the need for research writing, there we cannot show the difference between our generic writing and research writing. Research writing, we do it for a very specific purpose. Hence, the scope should be very specific. So let's understand the need for research writing. So what is a research paper or what is a research? Already it has been discussed in the previous slide. When we do a research with a series of investigation or with a series of studies or with the many experiments, that we call it as a research. So whatever I do, I have to track out my research for the entire period, and it has to be documented properly. That will become a part of a research paper, and that is going to be my research. So in this process, I should identify a research topic also. Without a topic, I cannot proceed my research writing. So framing a research topic is very important. When I frame a research topic, see to that your topic shouldn't be very generic. It should be very specific. And the keywords of your research to be brought in the title itself. Hence, we call it as a working title. Remember, your research topic should have a working title. And followed by research topic, we have to understand the tools required to carry out our research. It varies. Research tools are different for different fields. See, the very conventional tools are data collection through questionnaire and conducting interviews, surveys, and primary sources, reading secondary sources, and other things. Nowadays, it has moved to software also. We do experiments, exclusive experiments with the specific software. If there are science students and engineering research scholars, you might be knowing what is doing experiments using need-based software. I have seen guys doing experiments in MATLAB and using some special language and special software also. Whatever it may be, whether it is a conventional tool or a software related tool or a software, it is all about collection of data. So research, see, the prominent part of the research writing is about collection of data. When a data is to be collected, then it has to be interpreted properly. When the interpretation of data done in a periodical way and in a scientific way, we generate research ideas. I just repeat, we'll be checking for a working title. The working title comes with an idea of research orientation. With my research orientation, I'll be framing my research topic. While framing my research topic, I'll be very specific and I will use the keywords which based on the area of my research. Once after fixing the topic, I'll be checking for appropriate research tools. The same way, any researcher will be checking for research tools. It could run from conventional tools to the latest software-based tools. Then using that tools, I'll be collecting different data and the data will be interpreted in different ways. When I interpret the data, I would understand as a researcher, we would understand that it develops research ideas. When the ideas are generated, based on our study, based on our experiments, based on our investigation, that we could understand that our research starts, thereby our research writing as well. Research writing, as mentioned earlier, is a scientific writing based on the insights, inputs, experiments, etc. It Here there is no room for imagination or fabrication or manipulation kind of thing in research writing. So research scholars and one who wants to get their papers published in high impact journals, please, you have to remember, there is, when you are writing, should be very scientific in nature as well. It should be the combination of factual information or else the experiments conducted either in the classroom or in the laboratory. And don't manipulate the things, don't try to cook up things, and don't try to fabricate anything. That is not the space for writing research papers. And once after, I believe this would have given you a rough idea about research writing. Now, this session, I would like to highlight on the following topics. See, the previous speaker also talks about literature review. And let me also talk about the importance of literature review. When we register, or else when we wanted to register for researchers, our guides or our mentors, or else whom we are consulting for taking up research works, they'll be suggesting it. Start reading these textbooks. Check for these references, which means we should develop our research idea by reading the earlier researchers. Only by reading the earlier researchers, we could develop our research, we could arrive at our research idea, and we could also see how our work could be similar to that, or else an extension to that, or else how new our experiment could be, or how new our research could be. To get that research idea, or to get that research spark, literature review is must. So literature review is nothing but a thorough study of earlier researchers. It could be from books, journals, articles, and even web sources as well. I'll just give you two examples for understanding literature review. See, for example, if you belong to humanities, and if you wanted to take up MAL, that is Mobile Assisted Language Learning for English Language Acquisition, you just assume that is one of your that is your research topic. Then the literature review, when you have to focus on two components. One is, you must be knowing, as a researcher, you must develop an idea regarding what is mobile assisted language learning, and also the process involved in English language acquisition. So in these two areas, you have to read the relevant books, papers, and other things. And I made it very clear as English language acquisition. So it is not any other language. So that is the way we can narrow down the language acquisition part. And I didn't mention it as ICT tools. I clearly mentioned it as mobile assisted language learning. So the papers which I have to read, or the books which I have to refer to, or the sources which I have to consult should be from mobile assisted language learning only. It doesn't have room for ICT tools and other tools. This is one example I could give for language researchers. And in general, if I have to give another example for a science student, we can think of this example: role of robotics in life-saving surgery. So a medicos, or else even medical engineering students also started doing such kind of interdisciplinary research nowadays. So the two components involved over here is robotics and life-saving surgery. So the study could be focused on these two parts, not on anything else. So how nowadays life-saving surgery could be done with the help of robotics. We can narrow down it that way. So the literature review is reading the earlier researchers and narrow downing our scope towards our research. That would, the literature review would naturally take you to your research part, and you will arrive at, okay, this is my research topic, this is my area of research, this is what my experiment is going to be, this is what my finding is going to be, this is what I wanted to try it in the during my research period. That clarity we would develop only after reading the literature review, only after doing literature review. Of course, and when we start writing our thesis or a research paper, this would come as a second chapter or else in the secondary position. But this, our research would actually begin with literature review only. Maybe if you have any doubts regarding writing a literature review or how to go about literature review, you could ask, you could raise your questions. Accordingly, once after answering, maybe I'll for concentrate on the other highlights like introduction, how to go about thesis statement and other things. Any queries? All right, which means I guess I could continue. Fine. Then introduction. See, though we call it as introduction, this must be known to all the research scholars and even to the researchers entered the research field also. Introduction is not the first chapter. Actually speaking, it is the last phase of our writing work. Maybe only after writing the summary, we will start writing the introduction. So, which means the consolidation of our work and our findings, our recommendation, our summary, everything has to be presented in the introduction itself. So introduction is not just a phase where we talk about introducing our topic or introducing our work. It is a kind of introduction to the whole of our research work. So there is a difference between introducing the topic and introduction of our research work. Here, let's have the clear research objective. It is not introducing the topic, introduction of the research work. Hence, we are writing it in the end, and it should talk about the entire thing happened during our research period. What is the tool used to collect the data? Or what is the software used to do the experiments? And what are the research methodology used to conduct the research, whether it was a classroom experiment or laboratory-based experiments or a field work or a survey kind of thing. All such thing has to be mentioned in the research methodology. Then accordingly, I would be interpreting the data collected, and the researcher would arrive at a kind of conclusion, findings. Based on that, there is going to be a recommendation or a suggestion. That way, the introduction has to be written, but it should not, though it occupies the front position, it will be written by the end of your research work only. Without knowing this basic step, many of you would have started writing with the introduction, and you may not be knowing how to proceed. The ideas would get stuck in the middle because we don't have the holistic picture of our research. Hence, we got stuck up over there. So it is better to begin with literature review and then other chapters, interpretation of data analysis, research methodology. Those chapters we can continue. And then once after writing the summary, summation, we can start writing introduction part. When we write introduction, we have to give our thesis statement also. Based on the research of your research area, your research scope, your research field, you have to frame a thesis statement. This thesis statement could be a brief paragraph, or sometimes it could be a segment of ideas presented in 2-3 different sentences also. Uh, there is no hard and fast rule regarding writing thesis statement. Still, it shouldn't be a lengthier one. It has to be very crisp, very brief, and word count matters. Always remember when you pen anything towards your research writing, and move accordingly to prepare your thesis statement. And a thesis statement again should be it's going to be based on your research area and based on your research scope also. So don't make your research statements very superfluous. You could make it very precise and very specific all the time. This is the way we are going to make our thesis statement. And once after making the thesis statement, in a few universities, they expect us to present research objective or research question or research questions. For any research, we won't begin blindfold. We begin our work with a set of questions in our mind, or set of problems to be solved, or set of solutions to be aimed at. So based on that, we could write our research objective. This is what my objective. This is what I wanted to find out by the end. This is what I have to do it in my experiment. With that, I have to frame it as our research objective. And accordingly, the research questions could be framed. While framing the research questions, please remember to apply the language rules which you have studied in your earlier days. Don't make a language compromise while you framing your research questions. Then, this is the step-by-step procedure. Once after the researcher fixed with the research objective and framed the research questions appropriately, then it's easy for the researcher to go about the data collection. See, the research methodology is how you collected the data, or how the study was conducted to a sample group or a target audience or a study group, or the experiments you conducted in the laboratory. That when we elaborate in several pages, that would become a kind of research methodology. The process involved, the actual process involved in doing the experiment and other things could be brought under research methodology. Then interpretation of data analysis. So the data collected, the experiments conducted, then our research idea, and then our research integrity should find a place over interpretation of data analysis. Then only we could come for the appropriate findings, relevant conclusion, and suggestion. So data analysis, again, with the sample available, with the samples available, with an experiments conducted, we would have arrived at some conclusion, some kind of information. That findings have to be interpreted appropriately, scientifically. That would lead our research writing to write the findings. Our findings could include, in conclusion, it may give a suggestion, research suggestion for the future researchers. It may give a kind of recommendation to the different boards. And sometimes the findings would be a summary of all our research, and it has to talk about what is this future scope of study. These are the things which we have to bring it under findings. And so probably with the findings and all, we would come to the end part of our research writing. Once after we done that, the most important, the most significant part of the writing comes in the form of reference. See, along with your writing, along with your writing stage, every time you have to track a record of what you are referring to in your text, or what are the sources you are using in your text. That has to be built as a separate database, and it has to be properly quoted or cited under reference. If for literature based researchers, the recommended style is MLA style, that we call it as modern language association style. Yes, in chart we call it as MLA style. And the APA is a kind of style which we follow for ELT and science papers as well. APA is recommended for ELT and science-based papers also. This is American Psychological Association style. And engineering researchers, they are expected to follow IEEE format. Like that, there are different referential forums like Chicago, this and that. But we just understand what is MLA, what is APA, and what is IEEE. MLA, yes, that is meant for literature. And when it is MLA style, we call it as work cited. It is not reference. So alphabetical author entry of the works we cited inside our research work, that would frame the reference work, and that is work cited as far as MLA style is concerned. So reference and work cited are similar. If it is APA format, we name it as reference. And if it is MLA format, we name it as work cited. For both MLA format and APA format, we are going to follow the alphabetical entries of authors. And see, the reference which I paraphrased also have to be cited without fail. Otherwise, it will be considered as plagiarism. Of course, in the next slide, we are going to exclusively discuss plagiarism. So simply, I'm going to hint about the styles over here. This IEEE, if there are engineering researchers, you would be knowing it better. It is in-text citations. In-text citations, we call it as IEEE. And the number, it is not alphabetical entries, it is numerical entries that has to be given within the text or in the same line within square brackets. The numbers will be given within the square brackets. That for reference, we call it as IEEE format. So this is the overview of writing research papers under different title, which begins from literature review, then introduction. Though the order is in a jumbled way, in an assorted way, this is the way we proceed in a real-time scenario regarding our research writing. We start with the literature review, then we will do data collection, research methodology, then interpretation of data analysis, findings, then only we would write this introduction. This is the elaborate and blueprint of the way we write our research papers. And the reference style, we follow three different reference style, that is MLA, APA, and IEEE. Fine. Fine. Once after doing this, for submitting a paper, we just start with abstract. But again, like introduction, we should have a holistic view of the research work, and it has, when I could write abstract of what am I going to do as a researcher with this particular topic, with this assignment or with this experiment, then it's easy for me to frame the abstract. So abstract is actually a cover-up of whole research. Though it has been presented in 200 words, 150 words, 300 words, a journal specify the word counts nowadays. So as per the word counts, we will be writing the abstract, and the presentation of the whole research in a nutshell we call it as abstract. To make you understand it is in a better way, before a movie release, we happen to see teasers and trailers, which gave you the highlights of the movie. The same way, abstract is also about, will give you the holistic view of the entire research work. And by reading the abstract, the reviewers, any readers would come to know, okay, this is the research area, these are the samples involved, and this is the tools used. Like that, a crystal clear idea would be derived by seeing the abstract. While writing the abstract, we are expected to use the keywords, and while writing the keywords, let's use listing, and listing in the sense which words comes in the beginning, middle, that order we could follow. Then consistency here I talk about spelling consistency. You just see to that. If your research is going to get published in US based published papers and journals, then you could follow American spelling. If it is non-US based journal, then you please prefer British spelling. Always remember that computer will make you alert you with American spelling only. It would highlight British, it will not accept British spelling. So simply don't carry away, don't carry over the correction suggested by the computer. You apply your sense and see to the forum where you are submitting the paper, and accordingly you fix the spelling rules also. And while writing abstract, we are allowed to use abbreviations and acronyms. Abbreviations are compressed form of words, and acronyms, we choose the, we coin a new word, taking each, from each word we would take an alphabet. For example, SIM, it's an acronym, and example is an abbreviation. So this is the session highlight regarding how to take about research writing from literature review and till abstract. As I said earlier, it may give you the look, it's not presented in an orderly fashion, but this is the way we would carry out the research writing. Hence, the same procedure has been applied to present this session also. And now, let's see plagiarism. In the previous slide itself, while talking about reference, I just mentioned about plagiarism. See, nowadays, once after writing a very serious kind of research writing, we find it very difficult to get it published because of plagiarism. And this is a word of caution for the participants and for the young researchers and for experienced researchers as well. It has become a kind of industry nowadays. And scholarly journals, if you want to get your work published in high impact journals, see to that the plagiarism count should be below 50%. 25% is high percentage of plagiarism, which means it will never be accepted in any of these scholarly journals. And less than 50%, then reviewers will give you comments, corrections if we carry out, and if we would have, as a researcher, we would have a chance to resubmit it with the stipulated time. That is one way of getting our journal, getting our paper published in high impact journal. So plagiarism plays a very, very vital role. And you just see, nowadays, there are several plagiarism checker. Plagiarism checker is not manual, it is software based and it is automated. Hence, it is automated and software based. We have, the researchers have both advantages and disadvantages. When we use 5 words or 5 characters which includes punctuation marks from a sentence, it would be highlighted as plagiarism, which includes grammar components like tense, verb, article, prepositions also. So how difficult it is to frame a sentence without plagiarism. So plagiarism checker like Urkun, Turnitin, Scribber, Grammarly, etc. These are the names of different plagiarism checkers. They are all paid plagiarism checkers used by the institutions. Sometimes institutions buy those plagiarism checkers and it would give individual rights to the researchers. Otherwise, there are paid versions available, and based on our requirement, we should proceed for plagiarism checkers. So when I go for plagiarism checker, that's not manual correction, it is software based. So if the software detects five similar words in a sentence, it would be counted for your plagiarism, and it includes punctuation, be verbs or any kind of verbs, prepositions, articles, and other things. See, without these things, we will not frame a sentence. So please be aware of this fact while you start writing your research paper. Fine. Let's see how to avoid plagiarism. Now it's very clear. It's very clear. So in a sentence, I should not use the same word, same 5 words. Then it would be like plagiarism. So let's see what are the things we could do to avoid plagiarism. First thing is track sources and cite appropriately. This is the basic rule. Acknowledging the sources, acknowledging the resources used throughout the research is very mandatory. When it is cited appropriately, relevantly in the end, in the reference area, in the reference section or in the work cited section, we could avoid plagiarism. And be tempted to use our personal earlier researchers also. We are under, as a researcher, we would be under the assumption that need not be cited. It is not so. It isn't so. We have to, even if it is our own work, our own earlier work, it has to be cited appropriately in the work cited. Otherwise, that would also come under plagiarism. We may not think it is by the same author, by the same, it's my own work. Why should I cite it in the reference? It is not like, it's not so. We have to cite it by the end. Then, the MLA handbook or else the APA format talks about punctuation marks. If I take 4 lines from a textbook or from a resource, I would be using within double quotations. Yes, and how to use period. All those things have been elaborately discussed in MLA handbook and APA and other things. So accordingly, use quotation marks, punctuation marks, indented passages. That is more important to avoid plagiarism. When you indented the passage, when you used it within the quotation marks, when the acknowledgement is given within brackets, then naturally for any reader, it is crystal clear that is not your own writing or your own resource. It has been used or quoted from some other book. So that will not come under plagiarism. Then, we took enough care in punctuation marks and quotations, this, that. Still, see, instead of getting tempted to copy and paste the material, the no-go, a researcher should read, understand, and then you bring it in your writing. When you bring it in your writing, naturally, the ideas already, the research ideas accumulated in your mind, along with the reading, along with the understanding gained by the reading, would make your research proceedings, findings, and the research process original. When the thought process is original, it will get reflected in the writing as well. The logic is very simple. If you want to avoid plagiarism, a literature review, what we read at the earlier literature is going to help us over here. So I read, I take time to understand what is what. Once after understanding the things, we would be started writing. So the spark is not imagination. It is based on several readings, several works. So as a researcher, your thought process is towards your area of research, your area of your experiments, your study. So you should have generated so much of research ideas. When you pen down your research ideas with using the platform of literature review and the sample you collected, the experiments you have done in the laboratory, your writing is going to be original. When your writing is going to be original, there is no room for plagiarism at all. So instead of typing straight away from the computer, it may looks like a very conventional idea. Still, it's worth following. Write and then type. And it would be a strain for a researcher, like double work. If you don't mind it as a double work, this simple mechanics will make you to avoid plagiarism. It is this is a kind of experience as a researcher I have applied during my own research period and while writing my own research papers. And earlier I said about repetition of 5 words, which includes grammar components, will also make your work as a kind of plagiaristic work. Maybe to avoid that, one simple language tips what you can follow is, instead of using similar words, you can think of one word substitution. See, for example, if it is a study of space, we could think of astronomy. Then synonyms, similar words are there. So that is the way we can avoid plagiarism. And avoiding adjectives, intensifiers. See, scientific writing will not have a room for adjectives and intensifiers. So that when you remove it from your writing style, when you remove adjectives and intensifiers in the sense very using very often in our writing, would help us to avoid plagiarism. These are the things comes to my mind regarding avoiding plagiarism. You could follow it when you start writing your researches. Then, all right, we completed writing and the plagiarism also. Now we have a kind of orientation towards how to avoid plagiarism and other things. So the last step of this session is how to get it published in scholarly journals. See, the writing is original, and I cannot published in a unpopular or a low esteemed journal. For a researcher, it is equally challenging, not just the writing part, but identifying the right publisher also. So as a researcher, you should have double responsibility of being ethical. Believe in your potential and don't ready to spend money. Sometimes the timeline will be like that. Within 3 months, the paper has to be published so that the research process would be over. You could submit your thesis, this, that, like that. Sometimes the time would be like that. So along with your research work, along with your writing dissertation, you can plan for writing research papers and how to get it published in high impact journals also. See, journal we have to choose based on our research area. Nowadays, there are multidisciplinary journals, multidisciplinary scholarly journals are also there. But we have seen that engineering scholars and science scholars, even medicos, then language people, literature people, linguists, everything comes under multidisciplinary journal. It may be a kind of high impact journal for engineers, may not be for ELT people, or it may not be for humanities, it may not be for sociology, it may not be for education. So let's not have the impression it is a multidisciplinary journal, it is a high impact journal, so I could also get my paper published over there. No, please check the journal based on your research area. Actually, the space is enough. Very multidisciplinary is a kind of largest terminology trying to accommodate all area, integrated to this and that. But all the time it will not be suitable. So we could go for the journal based on our research area. And the previous speaker also talked about cloned predatory journals. There are few tips which we could sense, and we could avoid identify cloned and predatory journals. See, the first thing is, if they are predatory journals and cloned journals, only send mail to our account. The scholarly standard high impact journals will not send you to send an email to any of the researchers. And when we get emails from this country, that country, we would also be the other academic pressure, the research pressure would make us to immediately check for that particular journal to get our paper published. Instead, you check the country code of the phone number. Yes, nowadays authentic is verification and checking country code is a big thing. It's a simple work only. It's not a Herculean task. So the country code mentioned in our mail ID could be always checked. And you may come across the bank fraudulence, HDFC, then the H should be in a different style. So what I mean for check for spelling and grammar in the mail website review process is not just the spelling, the writing style also, how the alphabets have been written. Sometimes italics or else kind of inverse position. This and all will a kind of clue that it is a cloned website or a cloned journal or a predatory journal. This is what we researchers followed during our research process. And in your mail itself, they would promise you with the kind of these kind of statements. 36 hours, within 36 hours, within 48 hours, you will get your review. Then in another 72 hours, in 48 hours, your paper will get published. Guys, please remember, any high impact journal will not work such instantly, such swiftly. The process is not that quick. It has to undergo several processes, blind review process, peer review, then they'll write a review, then recommendations, then finally it will come to the researcher, the kind of recommendation and other things. If a mail says, or if a website says, or if a social media post says, that your paper will be published instantly, or else if the publishing fee is mentioned openly in the website, please don't choose such journals. Mostly 99% it would be a cloned or a fraudulent journals only. These are the tips which we follow during our study period. The same I'm sharing this participants also to getting trapped with the fraudulent journals. And all right, so then how to the authenticity of these journals? See, always we can check in the database itself. See, SciMago database where you can find multidisciplinary or any field journals indexed over there. This is a database, a reliable kind of database where you can check whether the indexed journal is in the SciMago database. If it is in the SciMago database, it will talk about its impact number, whether it is Scopus indexed or H index. All those details we will come across in the SciMago database. Due to limitations of this webinar, elaborately, I could not give more details towards SciMago database, but definitely being a researcher, every one of you could check for SciMago database with the journal, with your personal indexed journals in your hand. And instead of believing someone says that would come under UGC care list, straight away you can check for UGC care list in the website itself. The same way Scopus list, Elsevier list, whatever it is, identify the database itself. So this session we have seen what is research writing and what are the various steps involved in writing the research writing, and how to avoid plagiarism successfully while writing my research paper or my research thesis, and finally how to publish it in scholarly journals. That idea has also been shared, and the final word, it is at last checking the database, and an authenticated database which all the researcher could rely on is SciMago. There, with your hand-picked indexed journal, you check for the authenticity, and if it is there in the database, you could proceed further to get your paper published over there. Same way, for Indian, nowadays, for Indian researchers, UGC recommends a care list that would also be available in the database. So don't rely, sometimes even when we published, it would have been there in the UGC care list. It would have been removed. So always first-hand experience is the best as far as getting your paper published in high impact journals is your first-hand experience. So you go, you check, you identify, you strive over there, and you get it published. You enjoy the satisfaction of publishing your paper in high impact journal on your effort, not through paid agencies, not through any paid publishers. And if they collect money, see, Scopus also would collect money. Journals collect money, but the amount would be very reasonable. And co-authors, second author, third author, and all, if it is high impact journal, first author, and they accept at least 5 equal weightage to the following 5 co-authors. So there are many nuances as far as getting papers published in the high impact journals. Only by us, by being in research writing and checking repeatedly on all these databases on our own, only we can develop the clear idea, not by getting opinion from friends, family, relatives, and even it may look little harsh, but this is the fact. Sometimes the research guides may also be not clear about high impact journals. May not know the latest high impact journals. So the only solution is finding, checking on in the database on our own only. And that's what I wanted to end up this session on mechanics of research writing and publishing in the high impact journals. If you have any queries, I am glad to answer the queries. And with all your permission, shall I close the slide? Shall I close the slide? I couldn't fix it, sharing my screen and my view together on the screen. So I do not know how to go about it. So with your permission, and if organizer says I would close the slide, and I would be ready to take up the questions if there are questions from the participants. Shall I close it?
Yes,
Shall
ma'am.
I? Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you. It appears I have to, there are few people raising their hands for getting some questions, asking some questions. Yes? May I know?
Good evening, ma'am.
Yes.
Good evening, ma'am. Yeah,
Good
I am a
evening.
research scholar from Kashmir. Yeah, this was a wonderful lecture. Thank you very much. Yeah, I want to know, is there any specific approach for searching one's own interest of journal, as you have quoted in your last slide?
In the last slide, you mean to ask about the SciMago, the database?
Yeah, second last slide. Yeah.
Yes. May I know your research field?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Social science and Orientalism.
Yes.
Orientalism. Orientalism.
Orientalism. All right. See, and by this time, being a researcher, you would have identified these are the journals relevant to your field, to your research area. You just check whether that journals are available in the SciMago is a database. It would have all the high impact journals in that list. If you're in the search column, you could check for it, and if it is available, you can make yourself comfortable that it is an high impact journal, and you could get your paper published over there. That is one simple way of checking the authenticity of the journal. Yes. Am I answering your question? Sorry, I couldn't get your question properly. I guess.
Yeah, I got the answer.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Bilal. Yes. Yes. Kumari Chandrika wants to ask some question.
Sharika?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm Harun Ibrahim from Ghana.
Yes, tell me, Ibrahim.
Yes. Thank you for your fantastic presentation. I have learned a lot from you today.
Thank you.
And I'm going to apply it in my research writing. My question is, I think in your second or third slide on understanding research writing, you made mention of the different. You made mention of the difference between research and research paper, and then you highlighted on framing a research topic, identifying the research tools, and then collection of data, and then you came to interpretation of data, and then you came to development of ideas. Now, my question is, with your experience in research, we want you to share this idea with us, because it is one of the challenges that a lot of researchers face across the globe. Development of ideas.
Yes.
That should be, development of ideas, that should be in tandem with the research topic. Because sometimes you may sway a little away from the research topic. When you reach other peer reviews and articles that have some biases, a little biases in their presentation, you may, if you are not careful, you may go by those things. So in the development of ideas, how can you tell us to be disciplined? How can you tell us to be very disciplined in going strictly, that is, being disciplined, going strictly with the rest of it, so that we don't sway away from it? Thank you.
Okay, this statement. So you're suggesting me something like, along with conventional tools and other thing, you wanted me to add up something over there, Ibrahim. Your statement is not very clear to me. Could you put it in a simple terms?
Okay, so I am talking about development of idea.
Oh, regarding development of ideas.
Exactly. Under your second slide, understanding research writing. So I'm saying that, saying that with the development of ideas, with your experience in research,
fine.
As we've been
researchers, you're acknowledging the point which has been shared in that particular slide regarding development of research ideas. Am I right?
Yes. So I'm asking a question from there. Yeah, I'm asking a question from there. I'm saying
what's the question?
With the development of ideas, with your experience in research, how will you share this idea with us? As in the process of developing the idea, we should be in tandem with the research topic, so that we don't sway away from the research topic. If we are reviewing other journals and articles to guide us to write our own research, how do we develop the ideas with you, with any experience that you can share with us?
See, I'll try to answer your question. How to develop the ideas, how to develop the research ideas. I guess this is the bottom line of your question. And fine. May I know your research area? Your area of research?
Health and medicine.
Fine.
I'm a medical practitioner.
Fine. Whatever the field may be, there is going to be a kind of pre-existing knowledge towards your research area. That only you wanted to develop further by taking up research in a complete way. So naturally, based on your research topic, you would be started reading literature review. That's why the starting point of any research is a literature review. While started reading a literature review, and when we try to understand what is given in the earlier researches and the books, whatever we referred to in the earlier experiments and other things, don't you think will it ignite our research ideas? Will it not be a spark for our research idea? Will it not be an answer for our research questions which in our mind? That's why we start with the literature review. Maybe that will develop our research idea, and that is the germination of our research ideas. Once the ideas germinated over there, we have to start writing. When we write literature review, that will make you to be familiar with the writing process also. So this will make a kind of alignment towards your writing, your thinking, reading, and it will reflect in your research writing. That's what I feel, and that's what I could give as a convincing answer for your question. Is that convincing, Ibrahim? Very, very sorry
Yes,
if
thank
I
you.
couldn't answer.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Yeah,
Ibrahim.
it's very convincing. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good. Do we have time for taking any more questions, ma'am?
Good evening, ma'am.
Yes, good evening.
As far as literature review is concerned, ma'am, how much to be collected? Whether the entire reference related to a particular author or a work to be collected, or how much it is limited, ma'am?
There is no limitation as far as reference or work listed is concerned, right? It is all about your personal interests. May I know your area of research?
Ma'am, it is in fiction.
Fiction. So naturally, if it is Indian fiction or else international or foreign fiction, we would be reading all the primary sources. Then naturally, the secondary sources. So that is going to be used as a kind of reference. In addition to that, if you are going to use any specific theory to prove something from your research, naturally, reading towards those theory would also come under your references. Definitely, you have to quote all those things under work cited or reference. Since it is literature, it is going to be work cited and it is MLA style. It is not reference for you. It is work cited. So alphabetical entry you could give. Maybe you could check it in the word itself. Nowadays, in the upper pan, there would be a title called reference. So by giving the details, we will get MLA style, APA style, Chicago, all those reference index has been inbuilt in our laptop and in our desktop. Maybe the researchers could try that provision along with your writing. So simultaneously, along with your major writing, you could develop your work cited also.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for your valuable presentation, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. Ma'am, do you have a question? Yes.
Madam, it's an excellent presentation. You are
Thank you, ma'am.
And then the previous participant who posed a question to you, that is how to form an idea. The answer from you is the stored up knowledge, already stored up knowledge of a person. That's where people don't understand. You have touched upon that point. Thought process. If the thought process is original, then you will write a original paper and your research angle, the thinking process or the research angle will be original. So it's an excellent presentation, madam. Thank you very much. And all the points related to plagiarism also you have touched upon. That's where candidates bewilder in India. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. If it is useful, then I'm doubly glad regarding that point. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am, can we get your email?
Mail ID?
Yeah.
Could you get it from the organizers or should I type it in the chat box?
Okay, as you like.
I mean, can say it as a previous resource person also.
Maybe shall I leave it in the chat box, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
I think chat box is closed for chatting.
It's there, it's there. Let me share. You just see whether you are getting it.
Say it now, ma'am. You can say it.
My name is SASIREKHA.
Yes.
At American College. name of the college where I'm working, americancollege.edu.in. It is shared in the chat box also. You could check it over there.
americancollege.edu.
IN. Yes, ma'am. Yes, yes.
Yes. Yes, madam. Thank you.
Most welcome, ma'am. I guess there is no more questions. In that case, shall we close the session, ma'am?
Ma'am, do you have LinkedIn profile?
Fazana?
Yeah, ma'am, do you have LinkedIn profile?
LinkedIn profile, I don't have, sorry.
Okay, okay.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
Hello. Yeah, ma'am, I do not have any questions, but I just want to thank you in the sense like from this session, I'm mostly grateful for the last slide that you shared with us, ma'am, about all those lists and all, UGC, Careless, Corpus, Elsevier and all. Not only that, the part one slide in which you told about how to avoid plagiarism, that is of great use for each and every one of us, ma'am. It is definitely, I feel like we are very grateful. I should inform you that personally. Thank you very much for including that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Okay.
I thanks all the participants and yes, ma'am.
Madam, for arts and social sciences, the candidates find it difficult to fix the theory for it, application of theories. And could you throw light on the application of theories and how to fix theories for them?
Ma'am, actually, I did my PhD in ELT, so I am poor in suggesting, recommending literary theories. To be very frank, I'm far away from literature and I don't have much idea about literary theories and other things. Maybe based on our personal reading only, I guess we could apply and identify it will be suitable for feministic theory, queer theory, this and that. Sorry, I'm not in a position to recommend the suitable theory to different studies.
Okay, ma'am. That's usually we say that keep on reading, reading about various theories and current theories, and just increase your personal reading and read the primary sources and as far as possible read, collect data, and then you will be able to locate theories. But as you said, that introduction is the last one to write. People start with introduction and then they stuck up in there. That's a very good point that you have covered, madam.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Ramesh.
Very good. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Very nice presentation, ma'am. I would like to know about a recurring session. Recurring session for the
About
past 2 days. Recurring session, ma'am. Ma'am, I would like to know where will I get recurring session for the past 2 days.
I guess you have to ask the organizers regarding those details. I don't have that information.
Okay,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah, sir, you can mail to our organizers. They will share it.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your response, ma'am. Okay.
Yes, Sureka ma'am wanted to say something.
Thank you, ma'am, for your giving me a chance to speak. Actually, I wanted to know, I'm actually a researcher. I'm pursuing my PhD, and I have written my paper as a survey paper in the beginning. Like in the beginning, it was asked us to write the paper. So at that time, I had written, I have taken a UGC list, and from that, I have written one survey paper. Now, what happens is the UGC list always gets shuffled. Some time later, they become obsolete. So in
Yes.
that case, shall I go for the survey paper to be written in some other journal now at this position?
Ma'am, you just verify whether the paper got published in that journal. If not, you can resubmit the same paper to other journals. Otherwise, you can send a mail requesting them to remove it from their publishing list. That is one possibility of doing it.
Okay,
And
ma'am.
yes, UGC, they keep revising the UGC care list every time. And if it is, and sometimes it would be there in 2019 list and it may not be there in 2022 list. That's not a problem. If it is there in 2019 and if it is within your research period, it will be considered. So you will not worry too much about publishing more and more papers as a part of your research in other journals. If it is within your research period, it will be accepted.
Okay, thank you so much, madam. One more thing is there, madam. Like
Yes,
we
yes.
have some 2 to 3 objectives for our PhD research work.
Yes.
Okay, so how many papers do you think we should go for publishing for 3 objectives? 3 papers, or we can split the objectives and then publish?
Ma'am, there is no restriction like 3 objectives, then 3 papers, 1 objective, 1 paper. It is based on researchers' interest. See, your research, even your single idea could be delivered as a kind of one research article, ma'am. Sometimes a combination of 3 objectives together, you can submit as a single paper. It is all individual research perceptions, ma'am.
Okay. So the thing is, madam, suppose I'm writing one paper, one objective, and as you said, if you're combining all the objectives and making one paper, that means in writing the third paper or the next paper, combining all the objectives, will there plagiarism sort of comes into it? Because we
you
are
remember
referring.
to cite. See, if you are going to quote your earlier works, published earlier works, please remember to quote it in the reference session, ma'am.
Okay.
Your
so then it is
own
not
work,
okay.
yes, still your own work alphabetically, it has to be cited. If you overlook that part, definitely it will be come under plagiarism. That's
So
why I said it is not manual correction. It is automated. It is software based. So computer cannot detect whether it is the same Sureka or some other Sureka. For computer, it is a copied version. It may not know that is your original writing. That's why I hinted it is automated and software based.
So much. Thank you, madam, for the inputs given to me. Nice session, anyways.
Thank you, ma'am. I guess no more questions. And I'm glad about presenting this session on research writing, mechanics of research writing, and publishing it in high impact journals. I believe the session is useful for both the participants as well as for me, and the insights which you have given by the end in the form of feedback and the queries you have raised made me to think about the topic in different dimension. And I have to thank every participant for your feedback, for your queries and other things. And thanks to the organizer once again for this opportunity. Thank you all.
Thank you, madam. Thank you very much. Thank you for the organizers. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you very much, ma'am. The session was very useful to us. Thank you very much for being here with us today, ma'am.